You're listening to another episode of the Ana Vivo podcast. Thank you for your time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Ana Vivo podcast. We are coming to you live again, as usual, on beautiful Whidbey Island, Washington, the sunniest part, the driest part of Western Washington. If you are thinking of moving to the Pacific Northwest and you are coming from somewhere that typically has sun, please do us a favor and look up the Washington Rain Shadow, or also known as just the rain shadow, or what else is it known as?
The Olympic rain shadow.
The Olympic rain shadow. Yes, look that up. Just Google the Olympic rain shadow or the Washington rain shadow. And before you move here, plan on coming in the winter times, because I can tell you, as someone who represents clients all over the world and all over Washington State and here on Whidbey Island where we live, folks often come here during the tourist season because that's what we are known for, a large part. And it's perfect weather. And they say, oh, I want to live here. And I tell them to come back, come back in the winter. So come in the winter. It is the nicest place in Western Washington in the winter. But there's no better time to do some property searching than when it's dark out and wet out. Not dark like at night, but I mean, the winter months. And it's wet out, and if you can like the place that you're looking at in the wetness and in the winter months, you are going to love it in the summer months. All right, that is our real estate tip to kick us off. We are starting off this episode with Steven, who is a professional presenter and will be giving us some great information on
exploring the mysteries of the dark space.
Of the dark space.
Yeah, in the back of your closet.
Oh, there was more to that. Sorry,
yes.
I cut you off.
Of space, yeah.
Of outer space.
Outer space.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've been doing some, the last couple, I think we're doing a 4-part episode series on topics that have been interesting to us that we've chatted about before off the air and thought, it'd be way more interesting to do this on the air. And if you've never, we are not sponsored by this, but if you've never gone to openai.com and just asked the AI robot some questions, and do that today, because this was one of the questions we had asked. And so Steven is here to give the human answer to the question. Which is full of life and vigor.
So I'm just going to talk briefly about the history of space exploration. So nothing extensive, but just a little brief.
Space exploration, specifically. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So back in the day, people looked down and people looked up. And when they looked up, they couldn't get there, And
I'm looking up. How come I'm not there?
And so they had, the Greeks were all over exploration and science and innovation and all that stuff. And so they had all these myths and stuff. And one of their myths was about Icarus, who flew too close to the sun. His dad gave him wings made of wax. And he was too excited, flew too close to the sun.
Held together with wax.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Whatever version you want to tell your kids.
Okay.
And they melted, obviously. And yeah. So that was like early, hey, this dude's flying around in space kind of like talk. And there's obviously a lot of the other stuff. They base their gods on the constellations of the stars in the skies.
Sure.
So early exploration was really just talking about it. And then it wasn't until 1610 when Galileo made the first telescopic observation of the night sky. And he saw Jupiter's moons and lunar craters and other such things. And so that's when science started getting into space exploration, saying, what can we learn from this? And where can we go with this? So the Greeks were really the first and the foremost forefront for science and exploration back in the day. And they even got so in depth into mapping the solar system and coming up with those like solar system sculptures that rotate.
Oh, yeah.
There's some name for those things.
You mean like the ones we put above the kids to help them go to sleep?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like scientifically accurate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like a model.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, early 16th, 17th century, they're using telescopes to discover, explore space and stuff like that, which is so different than like ocean exploration because you can't just look into the ocean with a
Right.
device.
Yeah.
And then it was not until really the 1900s when space exploration really became feasible. And so early 1800s, they started talking about rockets and, hey, we can use rockets to launch things into space. And then it wasn't until early 1900s when they started really talking about it, writing papers about it, and creating patents for booster rockets. So they created, where is it here? In 1946, the first booster rocket.
Oh.
Yeah. And so they're actually like getting pretty serious about this. Where do I have this here? Yep.
This is the history of it all. Yeah.
Yep. And then sorry, I'm looking through my notes here. 1942,
Professional presentation.
Germany launches its first successful rocket into suborbital spaceflight, reaching 62 miles high.
Wow.
And that is the engine, the V2 engine that is used in all of modern day rockets. Not all of them, but like the Apollo missions and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
And then we go through the 40s and everybody's launching rockets. They're all trying to figure it out.
The space race is on.
Yep. And everybody wants to be the first and control space so that they can shoot lasers down on the bad guys.
Whoever they deem are bad guys.
Yeah. So they're sending rockets up. They start sending animals up once they start getting rockets figured out. They're sending bees and dogs and other biomaterials just to see how it reacts to being up in space. They're figuring out intercontinental ballistic missiles. And if we can send a missile into space, then we can send a missile around the world. And then it was in 57 when Russia sent the first satellite up and managed to keep it there.
Oh, like put it in orbit?
Yeah.
Cool.
And so that was the Sputnik 1. So that was a pretty big event. That was probably the main first event of space. And then, as you know, we start racing them. They get the first man into space, I believe. First satellite.
So the space race is on.
Yeah.
And the impetus behind it is to control space as another warfare domain, another environmental domain to be controlled culturally, politically, militarily.
Yeah. Have you seen Star Wars?
Not because they were curious about the other planets or potential other life or resources, or I mean, I'm sure there was obviously some economic drivers there, like, hey, maybe we can find gold up there or whatever. But you're saying most of these inventions were military based.
Well, originally it was back in the 1800s when they were theorizing rockets and getting up there. That was way before all the wars.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So they were just looking at it from a, let's see what's up there.
Okay.
And what's on the moon. Is it really cheese?
I've seen Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah.
Yes, it is cheese.
Yeah. So, but then, yeah, of course, when you're at war with Russia or you're not on good terms with all these countries and they're starting to amp up their search for space travel, then it makes you antsy because, yeah, it could be used to rain rockets down or drop,
right,
whatever on you. So, yeah, definitely concerned. There was the space race. They wanted to make sure that no one got one up on them and had weapons in space before they did. So 61, Russia gets the first man into space.
Now it's getting heated.
Yep. And so they're sending human being babies up into space. Later that year, first American goes into space. And then later that year, President Kennedy gives his famous space speech.
From space?
Yeah, from space. This, that, and the other things.
What?
You know that famous speech he gives. Get a man on the moon and return him safely.
Oh.
We do this, that, and the other things, not because we want to, not because we have to, but because they're hard. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we go through a lot of firsts, getting first spacewalks, first moon orbit, blah, blah. And then
one thing led to another.
Of course, we get a little satellite thing landed on the moon. And then there's lots of casualties, and then we finally get someone on the moon in 1969. So
lots of casualties?
Yeah, rockets blown up, everyone's racing to get up there, and so people are making mistakes and they're rushing things.
Not Russians.
They're not Russian things, they're rushing things. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. How many people died?
It's like I was alive during that time.
You would ask that question.
The first one was Russians.
The first one to die?
Yeah, first space flight casualty. Spacecraft fires its retro rockets ran to the Earth's atmosphere. However, due to an unexpected defect, the main parachute fails to unfold. Capsule crashes during re-entry.
Wow.
Yep. So anyways, everybody's focused on space flight and getting to whatever, yada, yada, yada. We do it. We get to the moon. And then it's like, so what? And then it's like, we don't care about weaponizing space. And ta-da, we did it. And now the space race is over.
Ta-da, we did it.
And nobody's like, it's like we go from holding a gun to each other's head to
the Cold War being over or something.
To high-fiving and...
What, are we all friends now?
Yeah. And so then we set up the space station with,
What is this, the hippie era of the 70s and 80s?
So...
What, is there a war going on in the world somewhere?
Everybody's friends. We set up International Space Station. And now we're getting down to business and exploration and really doing our sciencey stuff.
Ah, the sciencey stuff.
And so we're coming up with discoveries and breakthroughs, and we create toothpaste and all this other weird stuff. And then it kind of just dies down. Space kind of goes through a quiet period for a couple decades, and it's just way too expensive, and what we're getting out of it is not very much, and we can just use the space station.
Yeah.
If we need to. And so it wasn't really until Elon Musk comes in the picture and says, I can make this cheap and affordable. And I also have ambitions with space. I don't just want to go up into zero gravities and do some research. I want to go explore
The billionaire's playground.
Yeah, and so then other companies are getting into it.
Then the billionaire space race begins.
Yep, and so now we're in the billionaire space race. And they've already done some interesting stuff,
Shout out to SpaceX and Blue Origin.
Yeah. They are
and shout out to the U.S. government for the Space Force.
Yeah.
Speaking of billionaire space race.
NASA's still going strong. They are putting up internet satellites to give internet to the whole world, and they're already making deals with T-Mobile to put it in your cell phones. They are...
Wait, are you saying those of us that have T-Mobile are ahead of the game?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks, from the bookend millennial generation, me and Steven.
Yeah. They're talking about making moon base, Mars base, all this other stuff. So there's lots of stuff that you can still do in space, and there's lots of valuable resources in space, from meteorites and from the moon and other places. So I think there's still plenty of stuff to do in space, just like there's plenty of stuff to do down in the ocean. It's just expensive and dangerous.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, it's one of the most expensive things you can do.
Sure. What would you? I've got. Are you done with your presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I've got a couple follow-on questions from the audience here. The first is, what would you do if you were in control of SpaceX? What would you use it for, and discovering or finding or building or whatever?
Oh, I think the internet satellite thing is really cool idea.
Oh.
Yeah, I like being able to put a antenna on top of my RV and get satellite internet wherever
Have
I go.
you tried Starlink before?
I haven't, but I've seen videos of people test it out, and it's pretty sweet.
It is. Yeah, I've got a couple clients actually here on Whidbey that are using it, and it's faster actually than our own Xfinity sometimes. So I think the as long as you're out here in a more rural area, I think probably when you get to a more urban center and the bandwidth then becomes a problem, but maybe not.
I mean,
and they're using them in Ukraine right now too to keep the folks there connected.
Yeah, you can put them on your sailing boat and sail around the world with it.
Right.
You can go camping out in the middle of the Olympics with it. And prior to this, the only way to get internet or connectivity out in the boonies, was paying for a $3,000 a month satellite internet hotspot modem.
Right.
Which was ridiculously expensive.
Second question, this one also from the internet. From the folks here, would you be surprised if you found life out in space?
More than like little bacteria?
That's not in the question, but probably, yeah, maybe like sentient, emotional, intelligent life.
I would be surprised if I found sentient, emotional, intelligent life here.
Wait, what are you saying?
Other than humans.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Dolphins, I guess, are pretty intelligent, but
yeah, I mean, would you be surprised if you found animal life?
I would be surprised if I found anything bigger than, a golf ball of life.
Of fungus?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, plant life, maybe.
Okay.
I know they found bacteria. They found like water or whatever, and they found bacteria in the water.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, so I'm not surprised that they found microbacteria, but I don't think they'll ever find, actual life forms.
Yeah. I don't remember. We need to ask. Let me ask the chat AI while we're live here. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It's overloaded.
Oh no. Good.
Tim, who taught you how to type?
My mom. Okay, the question is bacteria in space, because I don't remember
Is that a question?
them finding bacteria in space. According to the AI of the world, as of their knowledge cutoff in 2021, no bacteria has been discovered in space. However, there have been several studies on the survival of bacteria and other microorganisms in conditions that simulate the space environment, meaning there could be, they've done tests here on Earth that simulate space environment, and the bacteria has survived it. So it's possible that this bacteria could be out there and surviving that. And some microorganisms have been found to be capable of surviving and even reproducing in those conditions. But yeah, nothing has been actually found. I was shocked when you made that statement because I am not
Of the mindset that there's life.
No, I'm not very smart, but I definitely feel like I would have known, or there'd be a big deal made if they had found life in space.
There was an article a couple of years ago that said they found frozen water.
Oh, but that didn't have bacteria in it.
On Mars, and that there was
elements are different than life.
Bacteria in it, yeah. No,
water, ice, rocks, yeah, they find that in space, but
but they found bacteria
in the water.
I am now looking for it, and it says no evidence of life has been found, but they found microbial fossils. So evidence that there was life.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
Is that a good source? Because I'm using
discovered evidence for microscopic fossil life
in space
in a meteorite from Mars.
Oh. Well.
But there was an article a couple of years ago.
We'll have to do more research on this because the AI robot says there's no life in space.
Yeah.
And I would trust that over.
Yeah, the AI can't be wrong.
Whatever link you're looking at.
I don't think anything can be wrong.
No, yeah.
On that AI, yeah. It's designed to be right.
Right, exactly. So, anyway, maybe that's for our listeners a point of clarification for us that you can leave a note on this episode, hit us up on the Facebook platform, go to anavivo.com, and reach out to us. Any other closing remarks on this? A point?
Yeah, you can do so much in space. It's your canvas. We have all these problems on Earth, and everyone's like, oh, climate change or this or that, and a lot of it can be solved with what we discover in space. And they discover this helium-3 is what it's called on the moon, and it can be used to power the Earth.
Yeah.
Indefinitely almost. Cool. So it's an interesting place. It's fun, full of,
lots of opportunities is what you're saying for us to put our differences aside and find commonality in the succession of the human race.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Anavivo podcast. We welcome your feedback and ideas. You can learn more about us by simply Googling the word Anavivo. This podcast is supported by listeners like you. I am a licensed real estate broker with Compass Real Estate and a nationwide real estate matchmaker. We consult with you for free, find and vet the right real estate professional that specializes in the area and niche you need, are paid by that professional, and they get clients like yourself who want and need their unique specialty or winning track record. If you or someone you know is in the market to buy or sell real estate anywhere in the U.S., don't simply web search the highest paying advertiser. Let us use our licensed experience to find and vet the real and best professional for you. It costs you nothing but a phone call or email with me, and has saved my clients financially and emotionally. I'd be honored to serve, and you can reach me direct by email at tim.c.miller@outlook.com. And as always, to God be the glory.